ladies and gentlemen, what a race we have in store for us today in Budapest, Hungary. The cars today will have to battle to the end in order to secure a good position today, where it's in time for another Formula 1 Grand Prix. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital, Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaroring are steeped in history and prestige, where overtaking has always been difficult. The last few years have turned up some exceptional races. Ladies and gentlemen, just an update. We were just loading in, getting everything sorted for the start of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and unfortunately one of the drivers forgot to select their team. So, you know, we'll get going with you just momentarily, but sorry about the wait, and enjoy the tunes. And just for a time update, ETA will be about 5 minutes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, whilst we're waiting, why don't we go ahead and talk to someone who's been very prominent in the products lately. It is the Netflix filmer, director of Drive to Survive, they call him. Casper Knopp. He was one of the drivers before for Red Bull, but let's just go ask him and see what he's up to. Hello, Casper.
Hello.
Now, I mean, it's not often that we do a pre-race interview, but since you're Netflix, what does that mean? And what exclusive access does that give you and the viewers at home?
Well, we've decided to try and make a somewhat Drive to Survive feature of the Kenco F1 League, but that looks like it might have to be delayed till next season, maybe, or to a different episode. I've spoken to Josh and a bunch of the McLaren guys, and yeah, it might have to be delayed.
Well, what does that mean? Obviously, we've got the summer break in 2 weeks' time. Well, sorry, summer break after today, but obviously after 2 weeks' time, we then go to Spa, and we've got a slight inkling that you may be spectating a certain Mr. Hanmore.
Yeah, so we'll just see how it goes once again. We have to try and get a bit more things organised. We'll just see how it goes, and yeah, I've been going like around the back the paddock, talking to a lot of the drivers, preparing different interviews and stuff like that. But we'll just see how it goes.
Right, talk about what sort of access you've had, and what does that mean for the people at home that will be watching it, perhaps next season.
We've definitely got some content coming that will be prepared. We're gonna try and make it as high quality as possible. And yeah, we'll just see how everything comes together, how it goes with the drivers and everything like that.
Now, we sometimes hear that Netflix curses drivers, and how do you attempt to mitigate that coming in this season, or even next season?
Well, this season, next season, we're hoping that it has a better impact on the team and drivers as a whole. Hopefully, not cursing them completely, but yeah, we'll see how like it affects the drivers, the pressure, and how they deal with episodes being made on them and the pressure surrounding it.
Well, thank you for the behind-the-scenes access, and we'll make sure to catch up with you later on. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of Drive to Survive.
Thank you.
Steering it is broken down.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a race we have in store for us today in Budapest, Hungary. The cars today will have to battle to the end in order to secure a good position today, where it's in time for another Formula 1 Grand Prix. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital, Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaroring are steeped in history and prestige, where overtaking has always been difficult. The last few years have turned up some exceptional races, so we will have to see what happens today with all of the 20 drivers on the grid, raring, ready to go, and aiming for the points. Well, what about the grid, I ask you here? Well, we're getting onto that because today, like a stuck record, Max Chapman on pole on the red mark soft tyres, and he's joined by the Ferrari of Titan. No change to those two positions from last week, but Matthew Widdowson with his best qualifying yet, P3, and he's joined by the other Ferrari, Torben Schutt, who was actually last week's victor. What a great race that was for him, but behind is once again a good qualifying for the Red Bull of Muster. Not too good for him last week, but Meek joined him. P7 and 8 is Salomon and Foxhall, Hartley and Robinson, both the AlphaTauris on P9 and P10, that fifth row of the grid, occupied by both of them, but Adam Forbes is best qualifying so far, and Archie Middelfeld joining him on the sixth row of the grid. On the seventh row of the grid is Robbie Walsh and Alex Rins. Not great qualifying for both of those drivers, but both of the Mercedes drivers are behind them in the 15th and 16th position. Behind them is Nuts and Amara, neither of them getting a great time, but the other two drivers are the two who failed to start, both the Williams on the last row of the grid. It seems as though there are quite a few pairs of drivers today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, due to yet another technical issue here at Kenco F1, that grid was wrong, so I'll read through the actual starting grid. On pole position was Max Chapman. He was joined by the other Alfa Romeo, Casper Meech. Behind them, Torben Schutt. Obviously, Max won last race, not Torben, as it said in the thing. Behind them is Joel, Andre, then Dylan, and then behind them is David, David, Alex, Andre, then Robbie. All of the top 10 should have started on the medium tyres, except for both of the Renaults, one of them which have not gone onto the soft tyres. So that may be a instant pit stop for them. They need to change it within one lap of the start. Obviously, you join us on the formation lap. Behind them, actually, disregard. Middelfeld is outside of the Middelfeld is outside the top 10, so he does not have to abide by that rule. If we look down towards Archie Middelfeld, is in P11. P12 is Thomas Salomon, Ian Hamill, P13, P14 is Jay, P15 is Ben, then it's Matt, James, Adam, Josh, and Svenny in the final position. Today, I'm joined by Sam in the commentary box for the Hungarian, just as we form back up on the grid.
Yeah, good evening. After a short formation lap, we're already on the start-finish straight once again. 35-lap race around Hungary. Quite difficult to overtake. We'll have to see what these guys are going to be doing today.
We're going to get a beautiful shot from the back of the grid today, as we see all of the drivers today, the first day, with ghosting turned off, as we, FIA and us, experiment the sort of effects that will have on the drivers. The lights are on, and in a sort of Murray Walker fashion, the old way he used to say it, the lights are out, and it's go, go, go for the start of the Kenco 2020 Budapest Grand Prix. Going round the outside is the Ferrari of Torben Schutt into turn 1. He is in P2. But who's that? Who's that coming down the inside? Jay Robinson. There's a big collision back there behind, but there's a bit of wing flying off. I'm not too sure what's happened there at the back, but I think actually they managed to keep all quite intact apart from Dylan Hartley and Jay Robinson, who actually had a little bit of a collision.
A great start from Kasimic up into the lead, beating his teammate through turn 1, managed to go up the inside. Beautiful stuff from him. Joel Foxall also jumping the gun on the Ferrari driver, Torben Schutt, as Titan, the other Ferrari, out, and we're under a virtual safety car condition already.
There's a virtual safety car. I'm not too sure what that's for. Titan already out into the first couple corners, but so far, nobody else other than Titan with these ghosting off what is the word? Conditions. Yeah, only Titan out so far.
Yeah, it looks like Nados, the Red Bull driver, and Titan have come together. Nados is parked to the side of the track at the moment, coming back onto the track now, but we are still under those virtual safety car conditions with Titan completely out of the race.
And as the virtual safety car ends, we'll be watching to see if any of the drivers exceed the time limit that they can be set. Well, the delta needs to be negative. Oh, sorry, their delta needs to be positive on the race start between the safety car pace. And if it is not, then it is a drive-through penalty for these drivers. The drivers are all very spaced out into the first corner.
Yeah, very easy to get caught out on these virtual safety car conditions as the track goes green once again. We're back to racing. Kasimic gets a good start, about half a second ahead of his teammate.
Down into turn 1, it is Kasper Meach in front, but Joel Foxall edging for that P2 position. Down the inside, he tries to go. He lunges down the inside, a huge lock up there from him, but he's behind into turn 2. Torben Schutt's now going to be right on his tail down in the DRS zone that is currently not active of turn 3.
Yeah, coming into turn 2, he's a bit too far back as well, but coming into turn 1, that was almost there for Joel Foxall, but still a bit too far back on Max Chapman. It's getting very close at the front of the field.
Dylan Hartley was not actually the one who lost his wing. It was Jay Robinson who lost a portion of his wing in that first turn. Joel Foxall going incredibly wide and a little bit of a lock-up there into turn 5, but so far, so good.
Yeah, really nice. He's done some great starts from certain drivers. Matthew Widdowson in P10 gaining 6 positions, as well as James Wilson in P11 also gaining 6 positions. So some great starts from some of the field as Nados, the Red Bull driver, decides to retire in the pits.
Andre and Middelfeld have both just had a collision coming into turn 8 and 9. So Shreya Chicane, they've had a coming together, and now they have dropped all the way back down towards P12 and P15.
Yeah, not good stuff there. You don't want to be getting these damages on the car this early into the race. The pit stop time is going to really counteract your strategy as yeah.
Joshua Mara manages to make a move all the way round the outside of Middelfeld as Kasper Meach has the fastest lap of the race so far. No damage to the wing of Andre, even though he's caught in that collision with Middelfeld.
Coming through turn 40, as you said, Joshua Murray getting the move done on Archie Middelfeld. Nicely done. But Archie Middelfeld going to be fighting back, still out of the slipstream and no DRS as of yet. But a great start for Kasimic. This is exactly what he needed to jump that gun on his teammate.
It's going to be down the inside. It's going to be really tight. Joshua Murray closes the gate, but leaves a little bit of room on the exit, and it is still him in front. But Middelfeld down into turn 2. Who is he going to be in front? Josh takes the inside line. Round the outside goes Archie. We can't quite see because of the positioning of the cameras round the outside. Archie's got the inside line, and he is in front into that corner.
Once again, great racing from these two. We saw this last week between the Renault and the McLaren. And coming through turn 4, Josh going really, really wide. Not where you wanted there.
It's unlucky for him. Obviously, he would have had to yield that position if he did go wide. We saw that early today in the actual Grand Prix with Max Verstappen losing his victory due to the track limits infraction on the overtake with Lewis Hamilton. But unfortunately, Josh O'Mara was not in front, so he did not have to yield the position.
Yeah, nicely done there from those two, though. Some really good, clean racing. Josh will be able to come back to him, no doubt, later on in the race. Josh is on the hard tyres. He's going to go for that longer stint compared to Archie Middlefeld and that Renault on those mediums.
And the top 6 are really, really tight. Dylan Hartley, Robbie Welsh are still pushing forward for that P4 position of Torben Schutt. There's a battle here for 3rd and 4th coming here as all the DRS now is available. And the rear wing opens on that Renault. And down the inside, he's going to make a move with Dylan Hartley into turn 1. Ooh. Late on the brakes, last of the late breakers, Robbie Welsh on the red soft tyres that were giving more grip. DRS once again down towards turn 2. And he is in front by a hell of a mile.
Yeah, nicely done from Robbie. Really, really late onto the brakes into turn 1. Down the inside he went, and beautifully done from there. They both had DRS coming up towards turn 2, but Robbie managing to power ahead of that AlphaTauri.
Here into turn 3, he's got to make sure his tyre wear isn't too bad. He goes wide, but still on the track. His tyres are on that thing. You don't want to make sure that you clip that white curve. If you do, you spin and do it rather so graciously. Go ahead and talk us through Dylan Hartley's lap.
Yeah, Dylan Hartley coming through the chicane there. He took a bit more of that sausage curve than Robbie may have unsettled his car. Obviously, Dylan is on those medium tyres versus Robbie on those soft. So he's going to be losing a little bit of time throughout the lap just because of that tyre deficit. But he's looking good at the moment. Obviously, still within that DRS range as we approach the start-finish straight. No doubt he'll have that DRS if he stays with that 1 second range. The final sector is pretty tricky around here. Really, really punishy on these rear tyres coming through turn 13 here, avoiding that white curb on the inside. Nicely done there from Dylan Hartley. And turn 14, the final corner of the Hungaroring. He is still within that 1 second margin. He's getting that DRS, but Robbie's still getting that DRS off that Ferrari. So no advantage there for Dylan Hartley. So he's going to have to try again on another lap coming into turn 1. Way too far back for him. But yeah, he's still getting that DRS off the Renault. But similar to Dylan Hartley, Robbie still getting that DRS off of Torben Schutt just ahead. You can see just ahead them two fighting very, very aggressively coming into turn 3. Robbie's still a bit too far back to get a move done, but we saw coming into turn 1, he's got such confidence on those brakes that no doubt we'll see a similar move in a few laps to come.
Stuff there from Dylan now coming down through turn 5. He's got to make sure he keeps the pace that he has currently sustained.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to get very tight at the front, no doubt. Obviously, different strategies at the moment. Robbie being the outcast with him being on the soft tyres versus most of the guys around him on those mediums. He's going to be getting those positions on the early laps of the race. But, you know, it's all about strategy. We saw in today's Bahrain Grand Prix how much strategy plays into these drivers' hands. So we'll have to see how that strategy works out for the Renault driver.
Interesting stuff here. Only 20 seconds already emerging between the front runners and the rear runners, but Chapman now making a move on Meech into turn 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that happened. I was riding on board with Dylan Hartley, obviously, a few laps ago, but Max Chapman back ahead of Castle Meech. Maybe a strategy there from the Alfa Romeo boys to for Max to get ahead. Maybe he's got a bit more pace than Casper at this stage of the race. We'll have to wait and see.
Bit isolated there for Rinzer down in P7. He is alone, but chasing.
Yeah, he's actually got the biggest gap on the track other than the McLaren of Josh O'Mara to the guy ahead of him. He's got a bit of work to do in that Red Bull. Obviously, Dylan Hartley ahead of him going really, really well. Similarly on those medium tyres as well.
And in the midfield, Widderson, the other Haas of Solomon, and Wilson, they're all battling for P9.
Yeah, one of the closest battles on the track, actually, at the moment. This P8 and 9 position, obviously, two Hasses sandwiching this racing point of James Wilson. Obviously, the other racing point up in P3 of Joel Fox. Coming through the chicane here, they've all gone through their pretty nice, pretty similar lines, not taking too much of that sausage curb.
Well, I tell you what, Hartley's just got past Welsh. We were on board with him, and he's managed to have a good run there, but that's a virtual safety car because Robbie Welsh has lost his entire front wing, and it's on the section of the track. The cars are going to have to be very careful with this no ghosting, that they do not run over that.
Yeah, definitely. That debris is going to really affect some drivers if they run over it. Coming out of turn 9 by the looks of it, maybe turn 10, I couldn't quite see. Robbie Welsh completely lost the car. And those soft tyres as well, you wouldn't really expect that. You would expect them to have the most grip. But yeah, as you said, he's completely lost his front wing.
I mean, F1 cars look really, really funny with no F1 wing. Oh, sorry, with no front wing, not an F1 wing. With no front wing, they look so funny. But when it gets replaced, it's even more funny because, well, to the other teams it's funny because they lose 20 seconds extra in the pit lane.
Yeah, that's a pretty brutal fact there, that he's going to have to replace that front wing through his fault completely. You know, there was no racing going on there. It was completely his fault. He lost his front wing.
It's the hard tyres going on for him. He won't be able to extend that to the end of the race, I do not believe. So it's going to be a double stop here for the Renault boy.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, we're under these virtual safety car conditions. He's not going to lose as much time going into the pits, obviously, with people much, much slower on the track. So, if he had to replace that front wing, it's probably the best time he could have done it.
And that's where the strategy of Widdowson also plays into his hands. Him in P15 has also come into the pits. And Abreu, on the exit of the virtual safety car, has managed to get past Hanmore, who is in the middle sector.
Yeah, nicely done there from Abreu in P9 at the moment. Obviously getting into that battle now with P8. Sorry, yeah, with P8 and P7, potentially trying to get those moves done in the forthcoming laps.
It's going to be really interesting now because the top 4 are all separated by 4 seconds. Joel Foxhall is isolated from Torben Schutt. I'm not too sure what happened between those two under that virtual safety car because he pulled about half a second gap.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what's happened to Charlie at the start of this race. Obviously, Joel managed to get that move done on the first lap to get ahead of him, but he hasn't got the pace by the looks of it on those medium tyres. Maybe just not working on that Ferrari at the moment. We'll have to see whether they can get the move done later on in the race, maybe through some sort of strategy call.
It does definitely look as though these drivers are starting to struggle in these conditions. Joshua Mara now just, well, 2 seconds behind the person in front of him, but it's still a long distance. You see in the background all of the front runners going through the first sector as Joshua Mara comes through the final sector.
Yeah, he's quite far down in P14, obviously. Not the best qualifying positions. So to be in P14, he's gained 6 positions, but that's a pretty decent start for the McLaren driver. Obviously, there's a few pit stop runners now, so he's benefited from that.
This track shreds their drivers' tyres, and how is that going to affect the strategy?
Massively, it's all about getting that right call about coming in to replace these tyres. A lot of the fill still on those mediums that most of these guys started on. So it's all about coming in at the right time, potentially triggering some sort of undercut. We saw that again, once again, referring to that real life race that we had the pleasure of watching today. Choosing the right time to replace these tyres is such a crucial decision for these teams to make.
Archie Middlefeld is chasing down Ian Hanmore in P9. He has got some decent pace, but he goes really wide on the exit of turn 11. Obviously, you want to use as much curb as you can there, but still not enough. Ian, not very late on the brakes there. He's probably conserving some tyre wear there, but the Renault behind looks mean and green, and the machine that's coming after him might overtake him down this street.
Yeah, that Renault of Archie Middlefeld looking good. Obviously, his teammate losing out completely after losing his front wing, but coming down the start-finish straight, Archie has got that DRS. He's probably going to get this move done very, very easily coming into turn 1. That Mercedes versus Renault power engine. And Ben is fighting back, actually, coming into turn 1. Is he a bit too far back? Might be. Archie's got the move done coming into turn 1 and still got that DRS, so Ben is going to find it really hard to fight back now.
That is going to be really hard for Ben to fight back. Both of the Mercedes boys were right next to each other at one point in this race, but now they're separated by a Renault and an AlphaTauri. But the other AlphaTauri, Dylan Hartley up in P5, now chasing Torben Schutt.
Yeah, once again, we're saying how good Dylan Hartley's been in the race. Obviously, that race pace we didn't quite see in Silverstone, but he's back on form in P5 at the moment. Just 1.2 seconds behind that Ferrari. If he gains a few tenths in the next few laps, he'll maybe be able to get in the move done.
I tell you, what about Svaney down there in the pack fighting for P14, P13, P12 and P11, all of them really close together. He's managed to gain the most positions of any driver on the grid so far, except for Josh, who's actually just made a move on Robbie Welsh. He's gained 6 positions and Josh has gained 7. That could be Josh's second opportunity for points.
Yeah, obviously, as you said, Svaney down in P14, his first weekend with the team, obviously. Quite a daunting task he has. He's fighting with all these guys at the moment really aggressively. Obviously, James has just come into the pits to replace his tyres that he started on, so he may be suffering a bit from that, Will Svaney. But he's looking good at the moment, looking strong, being confident in these fights, which is really important.
It's interesting here because down the straight, Welsh is going to make a move on Amara, and now it is Renault versus McLaren into turn 1. Welsh is ahead. Amara's gone around the outside. They're both on the white marked hard tyres. Welsh is going to get the DRS and just going to steam away from Josh.
Yeah, that's a real advantage if you manage to get that DRS coming out of turn 1. It's going to really help you in that battle, and, that's completely point proven there with Robbie Welsh getting that move done on Josh.
Down here into turn 4, it's one of the crucial turning points here. We saw Joel Foxhall losing his rear, managing to catch it into turn 5. However, it gave him such a big worry as to whether that racing point was stable round corners such as that, and Wilson will not be happy going through there at the pace that Joel was.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, watching on board there, that Williams is Svaney much more aggressive on those curbs coming through the chicane, maybe hampering his time slightly because, you know, touching that sausage curb is really gonna make the car very uneasy on power delivery.
Well, we've had 5 pit stops so far. 1 from Robbie Welsh, 1 from James Wilson, and then 3 from the Haas boys, 2 of Widdowson and 1 of Salaman. And that really reflects as none of them are in the top 10 positions.
Yeah, obviously losing so much time pitting, and with the high amount of pit stops these guys have made in the race this far, there's no wonder they're so far behind. And Josh Amara about to get overtaken by James Wilson coming into turn 1, and he gets that done pretty easy with that DRS assistance. Once again, Josh goes a bit deep into the corner, but he's passed, nicely done by James Wilson.
We've had a bit of information here from the race control that it is actually Widdowson's second pit stop due to a drive-through incurred under the safety car, or the virtual safety car, should I say. So that is interesting, and we saw that in the past with Casper Meach, who had almost 3 or 4 virtual safety car infractions, and he got multiple drive-throughs for that.
Yeah, that's a shame for Widdowson there. Obviously not ideal at all for that team strategy. Yeah, he's down in P17 at the moment, quite far behind the rest of the field.
Now, 1 second behind Meach is Foxhall, but how hard is it to catch up with the dirty air of these modern F1 cars?
Oh, very tricky, and obviously they're all on the medium tyres. There's no advantage to be gained in that respect. It's going to be pure pace now from this racing point of Foxhall. Casamich really falling off the back of his teammate Max Chapman by about 1.7 seconds. So clearly Max has a lot more pace than Casper this weekend. But yeah, Foxhall coming through turn 4 here. Will we be able to get the move done in a few laps? Potentially. He's only 1.1 seconds behind and gaining on the Alfa Romeo.
Round turn 14, Josh went incredibly wide, and that's going to give Salaman an absolutely peach opportunity to get in front into turn 1. Josh is going to challenge it, though, going round the outside. He is in front, but no, he is not in front. He's been forced out wide by Salaman, and Salaman is going to have the DRS down towards turn 2.
Yeah, once again, Josh losing out from that second DRS zone, and Thomas Salaman that has managing to get past very easily coming through turn 1.
And Svaney's actually lost positions now due to O'Mara and Salaman fighting in front. They're just holding him up, and he cannot get past.
Yeah, Josh once again going wide through turn 4. He's really struggling there by the looks of it in that McLaren. Svaney now managing to potentially get a move done on Josh coming through chicane very close. Only a few tenths between them. Obviously, Svaney on those medium tyres, which is much gripper than those hards that Josh is on. And Svaney looking very quick through these corners versus that McLaren by the looks of it.
Up in P5, Torben Schuck comes in for his stop, and he is away, but is quite slow for the Ferrari boys. About a 3-second pit stop there for him, and he is on the hards.
Yeah, this potentially could start this ricochet effect of all these guys coming into the pits. He could gain an advantage by pitting early, could Torben Schuck. So no doubt we'll see some of his competitors in the race pit.
Behind him, Robinson and Middelfeld are once again very close. It's much to the same of last week in Silverstone, and Widdowson covers off the inside line there, and J-Ro's going to go try around the outside. But as I was saying, it's much the same as Silverstone, where it's Renault versus AlphaTauri.
Yeah, this Renault Varchi midfield really likes to race these guys very hard, so it's really good to see for us, of course. Jay Robinson in P10, obviously a bit too far back at the moment. The best opportunity to get an overtake done is obviously in the DRS zones, that on the start-finish rate and just coming out of turn 1.
Is that going to give an opportunity to Mitchell down in P11 to get into that battle and possibly pass both of them?
Yeah, potentially. You know, you can always capitalise on these fights up ahead of you. Obviously, they're going to be losing time as they battle on. So yeah, Ben Mitchell's in a really good point at the moment to pounce on these guys if any mistakes are made, as Joel Foxwell decides to pit.
He's coming in, and he's on the hard tyres. Again, a quick stop there for the boys. No, he's onto the medium tyres, but he's really slow exit. I'm not too sure what's happened there with Joel Foxwell. He had about a 5-second stop there because the driver had to stop in the box. I'm not too sure if that was a technical issue, but we saw something like that with Bottas today. They just couldn't get the tyre off.
Yeah, one of the tyres may have been sticky, but he's gone back onto those medium tyres, committing himself to at least a 2-stop in this race. Understandably so, quite a long race, and the tyre degradation is quite high. So he's back onto those medium tyres, going to hopefully get a few positions back for him. And yeah, we'll have to see what he decides to go on at the end of the race.
That puts Hartley into P3. He has now got to chase Casper Meach.
Yeah, Hartley in P3, as you said, 7.6 seconds behind potentially struggling a little bit on these medium tyres coming through the corners. The back end stepping out slightly for him in that Alpha Tauri, but no doubt he'll be coming into the pits very, very soon, as well as these Alfa Romeo boys. As Max Chapman actually comes in now.
Max Chapman is in. Is he onto the hards or is he onto the mediums? What is the strategy for them?
I have no clue, to be honest with you. We'll have to see as he goes down the pit lane at 50 miles an hour. Very, very slow compared to all his rivals out on the track at the moment. We'll have to see what he decides to pit onto. And it looks like the hard tyres from this angle. A pretty good pit stop there from the Alfa Romeo boys. Crucially, no front wing replacement. He's had a good, clean first 15 laps. No front wing replacement necessary for him, which is obviously very good for him. He'd lose lots of time in the pit stops if he has to replace that front wing. He's back out into P3, just ahead of Joel Foxall, which is obviously great news for him. Kasimic up in P1. No doubt we'll see a pit stop from him very, very soon.
The Haas boys have just had a notification to come into the pits, and it is going to be interesting as to what happens there. We're getting a team radio from the Haas garage.
Okay, box. You'll be following that.
Wow, a double stack strategy there for the boys. But Wilson is out. Wilson is out for some reason or another. He is out, and that is going to cause a full safety car incident. That is going to be really beneficial for both the Haas boys, who have just started and initiated a double stack maneuver.
Yeah, that was a mistake there from James Wilson in the racing point coming out of turn 3. He's completely facing the wrong way, losing his front right tyre by the looks of it. That's a shame for him. He was looking good, really fighting through the field on those brand new medium tyres.
We didn't quite see. We're on board with Forbes, if we can see where he was, but no. Forbes has had to slow down because of that delta, but we can't see where it is. That's going to give both Rinser and Meech an absolute golden opportunity, but Foxhall has stayed out. He could have taken the hards to the end from here.
Yeah, that is a huge advantage to Casper, managing to pit under these safety car conditions. He's ahead of his teammate after the pit stop period, so that's great news for him. Has he got the pace to maintain this P1? We will have to see.
All of the top 10, except for Foxhall now, on the hard tyres.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one for the Racing Point. Obviously, his teammate out of the race. It's a gutting thing for the Racing Point team. But yeah, as you said, most people, in fact, from P11 to P1 are all on those hard tyres, except from Joel Foxall. So will that strategy really work out for him after this safety car? We'll have to see. And it's gonna be close.
Yeah, it's the top 4 runners is really who he expects. Meech, Chapman, Foxall, sure. But Hanmore in P5.
Yeah, Hanmore obviously gaining so many positions, 8 positions from his from his grid position. So a great race thus far from the Mercedes driver. He's right amongst the top now. He's got those brand new hard tyres on his Mercedes. So he's in a really good position, actually. Maybe, just maybe, a hint of a podium from this Mercedes driver. We'll have to see.
Well, I'm not sure if they're brand new or not, because on my screen, he has not pitted. So 17 laps that will have been on those, 16 laps that will have been 17 at the end of this lap on those hards. So it's interesting to see whether he will carry on or if that's just an issue on my timing screen.
Yeah, actually looking like they are old tyres, 16 lap old hard tyres. I think that is correct, actually. So is he going to pit? No, he's not going to pit. He's going to stay out. Obviously, those hard tyres can go a few laps longer than that, but he's going to have to pit at some stage. So he's really out of position at the moment.
Well, both Max and Casper both had the opportunity to box, and there is another lap of the safety car, so Ian probably should have gone in then. Both of the AlphaTauris behind Ian. Robinson hasn't pit, but so has Hartley. Hartley has pitted, and he's on the hard tyres.
Yeah, the two AlphaTauri boys very close now, P6 and 7. Obviously, Jay still yet to pit. We've got a few drivers still yet to pit, and those two are only Ian and Jay Robinson in P5 and P7 respectively. So is that the right call from those two teams to keep these drivers out? I'm not too sure. You know, you gain so much less time pitting under the safety car.
Well, you've seen 8 and 7 positions gained for Hanmore and Robinson respectively, but that is due to their pit stop. So Dylan Hartley is sort of net 4 right now, because Foxhall will also have to pit.
Yeah, definitely. He's looking good in P6. Is Dylan Hartley once again just being in the right place at the right time. And this week, down to raw pace from Dylan Hartley. So yeah, as you said, net 4th potentially at the moment with obviously Joel having to pit again to have that mandatory compound change.
Now, the drivers on the start of this safety car are going to have to be really wary, because remember, there is no ghosting, so any collision will take out half of the pack, so they've got to make sure that what they do is clinical and it's safe.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is the first safety car restart with these new regulations in place. So these guys have got to be careful. They don't want to be doing anything crazy on this restart. They want to be in the long run, and they want to be in for the rest of the race.
Looks as though the safety car's going to stay out. No, it is not. The lights have extinguished, and you know what that means, Sam? You're going to have to walk us through the safety car restart and the procedure that Max Chapman and Casper Meach will be doing to enable them to get a front row lockout.
Yeah, coming through turn 13, obviously Casper going to be doing this restart, letting the safety car go. It's going to be all about when he decides to pounce. He's turning his ERS up to the maximum. He wants to get as much pace. Coming through turn 14, he's gone already, actually. Through turn 14, he's really caught Max Chapman off guard. Joel Foxall very, very close to the back of Max Chapman now. Is he going to be able to get a move done into turn 1? No DRS at this stage, but he's a bit too far back. The Alpha Tower of Dylan Hartley making a move on Ian into turn 1 as well. Nicely done there from Dylan Hartley.
Dylan's gone incredibly tight there, opposed to Ian going incredibly wide. And Bauer at the back, it means Rinser has now lost a position to Abreu, who in the Williams is now looking forward towards the Alpha Tower of Robinson on his old hard tyres. But behind Kawastad, Sveni is in last position. I'm not too sure what happened, and both the McLarens now off the back of the grid.
I'm not sure what's happened to Svenny there down in P70, but Casper, crucially, that restart was all about retaining this P1. You know, can he keep it to the end? We don't know. Coming out of the chicane, Max Chapman getting a huge step of oversteer, potentially struggling a bit. And Joel Foxall so close to the back of Max Chapman. This is exactly what Casper wants to get that advantage over him in the championship standing.
And behind him, Torben Schut is charging towards. We see all of the drivers going incredibly wide on the exit of turn 11.
Yeah, Torben is really up there at the moment with these front three. You know, he's on those hard tyres, potentially a bit better on this Ferrari. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, most importantly, when the DRS gets re-enabled, they're all within that 1 second range. So they'll all get that DRS, except from Casper Meach, of course, up in first place.
Looking towards the middle of the grid, it's Rinser, who is chasing Abreu, who is chasing Robinson, who is chasing Hammore. There is a train that is starting to form, and surely with the DRS, this will make it even worse.
Yeah, this chain of cars really needs that DRS to get any moves done. It's quite apparent that it's so hard to overtake around here in Hungary without that DRS.
And down the inside, into turn 2, comes one of the Haas drivers, but they're not going to have enough pace. And both of them stay behind the Mercedes of Mitchell. A good race for him this far.
Yeah, this, you know, it's all about the strategy of your race. With that DRS coming within the next lap or so, you know, it's going to be so much easier to get these moves done. So get a good, clean restart, which most of these drivers have done by the looks of it, and you'll get that DRS reward in a few laps.
Joel Foxall is incredibly close to Max Chapman in front. I'm not too sure what's going on with this driver. He is normally out there by 5 or 10 seconds, or even 15 sometimes. But Joel Foxall today on the yellow medium tyres may make a move down here into turn 12. No, he's just too far back. But into turn 13, he's going to get such a better exit. Those tyres are giving him such a better release. We go on board with Max Chapman in the rear wing. You can see all 4 of those drivers, Dylan Hartley, Torben Schut, and Joel Foxall, chasing the Alfa Romeos down.
Yeah, crucially, this DRS will be enabled very soon, I think. Not on this occasion, but very soon, I think. Obviously, as you said, Joel on those medium tyres really paying dividends for him. Max Chapman almost out of DRS range from his teammate as well, which is really crazy to think. You know, he had so much pace on the previous stint.
Towards the rear, Sveni's just got an overtake on Adam Forbes, but both of the drivers who haven't pitted really feeling the consequences down now in P6 and P7, but up in P10. Some team orders, perhaps from the Renault boys.
Yeah, potentially there was a few team orders, as you said. Potentially the best thing for that race, though, if the other guy is faster. But coming through turn 4, they're pretty evenly matched, potentially. You know, those medium tyres of Robbie Welsh paying dividends for him, and their team does not want to ruin Robbie's strategy for the race.
We'll go ahead and give us the gratuitous sounds of the Haas car now for this one and only sound effects lap. And yeah, there, that sound effects lap you heard. Maybe not the greatest one to spectate Salaman as he got overtaken twice, once by his teammate and once by the McLaren. I hope you all enjoyed that that beautiful sound effects lap of the V6 Turbo Hybrid.
Yeah, DRS is enabled now, so it's just going to be really important for these guys once to get those moves done. But Max Chapman in P2, out of that DRS range from his teammate, by the looks of it at the moment. But crucially, Joel Foxwell in P3, still within DRS range of Max Chapman, so we probably will expect a move coming into turn 1, considering he's only 3/10 back.
He is hot on the heels of the Alfa Romeo. He's right in the wake of the high rake car coming down now into turn 14, the low rake style of car, the BWT Pink Racing Point that is now dubbed Aston Martin in the 2021 season has lost out because of the rake to the cars like the one in front, but into turn 1 he has definitely not lost out. He is in front, he is leading Max Chapman into turn 1. Joel Foxhall is in the second points position.
Yeah, completely benefiting from that DRS, quite clearly getting that move done into turn 1. Nicely done from Joe. Obviously, on those medium tyres, that overtake was crucial for his strategy. Will he go and chase Casper now? We'll have to wait and see.
And towards the rear, Middlefell is trying to make a move on Jay Robinson, but they do touch. No damage there for either of the cars, but they're getting so tight in the midfield.
Yeah, nicely done from these midfield drivers today. Some great racing, specifically Archie Middlefeld doing really well in that Renault. Obviously in P11, just outside of those points positions. But we can expect some drivers ahead to get those pit stops in.
Round the outside through turn 5 goes Archie Middlefeld. He's going to be behind in the chicane. He's going to have to yield. But what a move that was to get in front. And he's cut the chicane entirely there.
Yeah, I think he had to yield because of that move there. But yeah, as you said, going over the chicane, he has completely cut it. Going over the sausage curb as well, which not have been good for the floor of his car.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to cause damage, but it's also going to be looked at by the stewards as that may be gaining an advantage. But down here into turn 12, Jay closes the door. Jay closes the door on Archie Middlefeld, goes down the inside, and there's a big collision there from Jay and Archie, both of them having a huge collision. Archie has had no repercussions there, but we've seen that before with Archie. He has spun out Josh before, but now it is Jay. What is Jay going to have to say to that, I wonder?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened there, but I think that was actually Robbie we were riding on board with. But Jay sort of cutting across the track in a really weird maneuver. I'm not sure what he was trying to gain from that, by the looks of it on my angle anyway.
Well, go ahead and talk us through Jay now. You've got a huge recovery drive, and he's spun into the pit lane.
Yeah, Jay obviously got some serious damage on that AlphaTauri, really hitting that wall as well. No doubt there'll be a front wing change coming in this pit stop. He's on those hard tyres. You know, he was set up for a good race strategy-wise, but he's really lost out because of that incident. Again, on my screen, it sort of looked like he was cutting across that Renault. I mean, I could be wrong, but yeah, that's really affected his race nonetheless. He's gone onto those medium tyres, not having to replace that front wing, interestingly. Maybe that spin was just caused by a really increased amount of temperature in his rear tyres.
Well, yeah, obviously, once you get spun once, the temperature skyrockets, which makes you spin again, which skyrockets the temperature is, makes you spin again. But Robbie Welsh involved in that collision, as you did say. We'll go ahead and see what we can get from that racing, from that AlphaTauri garage. That has got to be a toxic environment in there right now.
Yeah, no doubt neither of those drivers will be very happy. Obviously shifting the blame to the other driver completely, but Jay Robinson in P17 losing out the most from that battle.
Yeah,
so that's not going to be good for him.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the team actually have to say to that. And we've just got the notification. There's a team radio from the AlphaTauri garage.
What the fuck, man? I've just been shunted off the track. I had the inside, or the outside at least, still in front of him. He should have given it up. I've cost points now.
Yeah, it's costing points, and that's points for the championship. Dylan Hartley in P4 of the championship, and that could have been the drive that put them in P4 in the Constructors.
Yeah, that's a real shame for the AlphaTauri team in general, but obviously really not happy with that incident between him and Robbie. Seemingly, I think it was Robbie in that Renault anyway. And you know, already writing off the rest of the race in P17, maybe just a bit too far back to get any sort of recovery drive. Now, maybe what he needs is a safety car.
Perhaps that might be what is going to happen, but Joel Foxhall on the medium tyres needs to gain at least 10-15 seconds to the car in front, Casper Meech, which he is not doing because he needs to pit once again for the soft or even the hard tyres.
Yeah, he's within that DRS range by the looks of it now with that slipstream. Maybe going to get that DRS coming out of turn 1 on Casper Meech. Obviously, the move coming into turn 3 is quite a tricky one. Sorry, turn 2 is quite a tricky one with it being a quite tight corner. Still hasn't got that DRS on Casper though. We're gonna have to wait a few more laps if Joel wants to get that move done for the lead. But yeah, as you said, he's still got to pit.
Talk us through his entire lap.
His entire lap. All right, coming through turn 4. This is where he saw a mistake in qualifying from him. Looking a bit more confident. Having that downshift through there, potentially helping the stability of the car. Only 6/10 behind Casper Meach now, coming through the chicane. He gets a good run through there, using the sausage curb on the right, maybe a bit too much. And yeah, that's really offset the car, actually, potentially touching the grass. But he's gaining so much time on the Alfa Romeo of Casper Meach, just 1/10 alone in a few corners. So really good stuff from the Racing Point driver. And Jay Robinson down in P17 actually got the new fastest lap, so good for him coming through turn 12. Obviously, no moves yet. He's still a bit too far back, but we can expect that DRS on that start-finish straight for Joel Foxall. Turn 13, again, within that 6/10 margin of Casper Meach in front, so no doubt we'll be seeing that DRS very, very shortly as we approach the start-finish straight. He has got that DRS flat wide open for Joel Foxall. Is he going to get the move done into turn 1? He's gaining. Casper Meach slightly moving under braking, but nicely done there from him into turn 1. He gets the move done. He's going to get that DRS once again being ahead into turn 1, and Joel Foxall's got that move done coming into towards turn 2.
What an amazing stuff there from Joel Foxall. We said he needs to be in front, and if he's not in front, that is where his tyre advantage is lost.
Yeah, this is crucial for the strategy that he's running today. He's obviously ahead of Casper Meach by about 3/10, so still within that DRS range. He's still got a little while to go to get this strategy to work, but he's looking pretty good at the moment. But he doesn't need, if he gets a safety car or anything like that, this strategy is going to be really, really ruined. So fingers crossed for Joel that it's all going to work out.
If I were you, I would actually say the opposite. I think it would benefit him under a safety car. He would lose time to Casper Meach and Chapman, but he'd have faster tyres, and he'd still be possibly P3 or 4.
Yeah, potentially. We'll have to wait and see. He's got that purple middle sector. So quick now he's in free air. Casper Meach almost outside of that DRS range. But he's not going to really want to fight Joel. He knows that he's going to have to get that pit stop once again for Joel. So it's a pretty pointless battle to fight, but he's still got that DRS on him.
And the fastest lap there from him. 290 kilometers an hour down the pit straight. What these V6 turbo hybrids can produce in terms of pace, raw speed, and absolute power down the straights is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, great technology in Formula 1. Obviously, the pinnacle of motorsport, we would expect nothing less. But yeah, that Ferrari engine powering Casper down the straights, really nicely done there. And obviously, with that DRS, he was gaining hugely.
Backing down in P7, Ian is now losing out to Alex Rinser, who is obviously pitted for newer, hard tyres, but he's gone wide, lost a little bit of grip. There's a battle here between Welsh and Rinser to get into that position in turn 4, but Ian Hamill still not pitting.
Yeah, I'm really surprised he hasn't come into the pits yet. Obviously, lap 27 of the race. He's still on those hard tyres. Therefore, these hard tyres are 27 laps old. No doubt we'll see him pit soon. Maybe wanting to go onto the soft tyres at the very end of the race. But clearly, these hard tyres really not liking the fact that they're still on this guy. He's really losing out in these corners.
How much longer could he push it?
Wow. Yeah, he's going wide there through turn 11. I mean, it's going to be tricky for him. I think we'll see him coming into the pits very, very shortly. And the Red Bull of Alex Rins are gaining so much through the corners.
But one thing we haven't actually seen today that was one of the big preventative things that we turned the ghosting off for was any back markers.
Yeah, that was interesting actually. These guys at the front not quite having the pace to lap these guys at the back, or maybe the guys at the back just have that extra pace this weekend. Who knows? But yeah, working out well at the moment as Robbie Welsh actually gets the move on Alex Rinser into turn 1.
Yeah, it's always inevitable when you've got a battle like that, and Ian Hamill actually managing to stay in front somehow. But yes, Alex Rinser and his team will be really, really struggling on those tyres. They did pit earlier than the Renaults, so that means that they're going to be struggling. Amara's in the pits, and he is going to be pushing, possibly, for a fastest lap.
Yeah, potentially. I think Robbie Welsh will easily be able to get through Ian Hanmore, obviously, on those much newer tyres. As Robbie coming through the chicane, you can see how much time he's gaining on the Mercedes.
See, very different lines there coming through the chicane. We'll just go ahead and look at the replay of what happened before when it was... Never mind, the replay system is broke, so we won't go have a look at that. And apparently there's an AlphaTauri radio message, but that is false, in fact. But make sure that you stay around. You do not want to miss what's going to happen just now.
Joel Foxwell in the pits. This is his crucial moment now to get the strategy to work onto those soft tyres. He wants the best tyre for him to get these moves done late into the race. Where is he going to come out? He's at P7 at the moment. There's a few guys still coming down the start-finish straight. Is he going to be behind the Red Bull of Alex Rinsa? He's not. He's slotted in between Alex and Robbie by the looks of it.
P7 for him, but will that work out for the pink Mercedes BWT Racing Point that's racing to the point of the finish line? And what is the point of him racing if he's not going to be in the top?
Yeah, he's about 20 seconds behind the lead now. Obviously, Kaspermic back into the lead with Joel Foxall pitting. I mean, 20 seconds in 6 laps. That's quite an ask. But we'll have to see if he can do it, obviously, on those brand new soft tyres. That's going to really play into his hands.
Kaspermic needs this for the championship, but he also needs Torben Schutt, who is 6 seconds behind Max Chapman, to get in front and get into the P2 position. He needs the biggest gap between him and his teammate he can ever have.
Yeah, obviously, Torben Schutt in P3 in the race at the moment, 5 seconds behind Max Chapman. So unless there's a mistake from Max or Charlie puts in some stellar pace in these last few laps, I'm not too sure that's going to happen. Dylan actually gaining on the back of the Ferrari, but still outside of that DRS range.
Oh, what's that? The back of the Ferrari is smoking. I'm not too sure what's going on there. That could be an MGUK failure for the Ferrari boys. Torben Schutt, the back of his Ferrari is smoking.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's an issue there for the Ferrari. He's looking good at the moment, still up to speed coming into turn 2. Dylan not gaining any massive time at the moment. We'll have to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see whether they're going to have to turn the deployment down. If it is an MGUK failure, which we indeed think it may be on that car, but multiple of the other cars getting through this race perfectly fine.
Yeah, obviously, lots of Ferrari runners in the field. No issues for them at the moment, but potentially one for Torben Schutt. Once again, coming through the chicane, he's looking okay.
Ian Hamwell has finally decided to pit, and he's onto the soft tyres. He can make it all the way to the end, I believe.
Yeah, similar strategy to that of Joe, obviously in P12, slightly outside of those points. He's 13 seconds behind his teammate. I really feel like that strategy hasn't played off for him today.
Unfortunately, I don't think it will, but I think Ben Mitchell up in P11 has had a decent race, and so far can push into the points positions.
Yeah, he's so close to those points positions, only 2 seconds behind the house driver Thomas Salomon. We'll have to see if he can get that move done. And as you said, a pretty good race for the Mercedes driver. Very consistent and nice job from Ben today.
And into turn 1, I don't believe it. Max Chapman is in front of Kaspermic. This is the pace we were on about. The DRS into the first turn has aided him and given him the pace he needs. But Kaspermic is going to be chasing down into turn 4. And it's going to be relentless pace from the end from these boys. They are free to battle, no doubt about that.
Yeah, so impressive from Max Chapman to gain about 1.5 seconds on Casper in the last few laps. That's really shocked me, actually. Max up into the lead by about half a second. It's all about Casper now, staying within that DRS range and hopefully getting a move done into turn 1, potentially for him. He's going to want to keep that first place, though, obviously, for the championship.
And Max Chapman has got to retain the place. You are absolutely right. The championship is just so close up at the top fleece. There are 4 laps to go after this lap has finished. So what is going to go on after they've passed the line? And oh, the back of the Alfa Romeo is slightly smoking as well. I'm not too sure if that is just a glitch on my screen, but they do seem to have either some temperature or MGUK failures here with the Ferrari power unit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's just a normal thing with the Ferrari power unit in this game, but yeah, potentially just suffering from a bit of a high temperature of the engine at the moment in the back of that Alfa Romeo. But coming into turn 1, Kaspermic still too far back, even with that DRS.
And easily, Joel Foxall, with the aid of the DRS and the overtake button, is passed into turn 1. He's in front. He's now in P5, but he's going to have the DRS down towards turn 4. He's 11 seconds short of P4. Is he going to be able to make it there in 4 laps?
That's a big ask, obviously. 11 seconds to the next car ahead is a big margin. There's only 3 or 4 laps left of the race, depending on where you are on the racetrack. He's in P5 at the moment. Nonetheless, that's a pretty decent effort from him, losing 1 position overall from his grid spot.
And number 15 is definitely not the position he is in today. There are only 17 competitors. His teammate is out. One of the Red Bulls of Muster is out, and Titan out within the first couple corners of this track. Two of them causing a virtual safety car, and one a entire full safety car. Robbie Welsh, someone else who caused a safety car, is up in P7.
Yeah, once again, these two Renaults looking really, really strong. P7 and P9. P7 for Robbie, P9 for Archie Munafel. Nicely done from them two, both on, in fact, Archie on those hard tyres and Robbie on those medium tyres, potentially helping him getting those overtakes done.
We talk about who gained the most positions, and in P13 is Svaney.
Yeah, great effort from the Williams driver, just outside of those points positions by the looks of it. Obviously, his teammate up in P6, once again, a good race there from Andre at the moment, of course. But Svaney, yeah, I mean, his first outing on a race weekend, specifically the race, nicely done from him in that Williams. Looking really, really good. The strongest Williams driver we've had thus far, I think.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can vote for your driver of the day, !DOTD in the chat to vote for your driver of the day. I think Max Chapman will be mine for the absolutely stellar recovery drive that he had all the way back from P3 up to P1. However, there could be someone like Foxhole who is yet to get into the top fleets that we could just not predict. There is a blue flag for the first time, and Josh O'Mara and Adam Forbes have had to yield. That is a beautiful display of the ghosting, and we're once again going to see the blue flag as Torben Schutt comes through the final sector.
Yeah, as you said, perfect example there from Adam Forbes, getting out the way nice and early for the front runners. Perfectly done from him. Max and Casper will be really happy with that as well. Specifically, Casper being able to get through that traffic really quickly is going to benefit him. He's still within that DRS range of his teammate.
We saw it back at France, but Dylan Hartley and Torben Schutt fighting for the final podium pace.
Yeah, definitely. Once again, this final podium place being very, very close. Obviously, Dylan getting that DRS into turn 1. Still a little bit too far back for him, but we could see a move done into turn 2. Obviously, getting the DRS once. Again, is he going to be able to... It looks like the Ferrari got a really nice exit coming out of turn 1. He's a bit too far back coming into turn 2.
Once again, vote for your driver of the day today. !DOTD in the chat, kencotv.uk/vote. You see, now the Ferrari is about to usurp the McLaren right in front of him. Adam Forbes once again going to have to get out of the way. There is a time penalty that has been issued by the FIA to Dylan Hartley, who has been chasing for exceeding track limits. We've talked about the drivers having to stay within the track bounds, and out of the exit of turn 4, he has got picked up a penalty.
That is not what he needed at all. That podium place slipped right through his fingers. What a shame for Dylan Hartley. But obviously, those track limits there for a reason. He's obviously gone over them a few too many times for the FIA's liking.
He's now going to push as hard as he can, and means that Joel Foxhall is within a second. That is a second of Dylan Hartley. 3 seconds of Dylan Hartley's penalties will put him in front. Joel Foxhall into P4 of the final lap.
Yeah, that's really good for Joel actually getting that. For Dylan getting that penalty is really good for Joel. Into turn 1, though, Casper so close to Max Chapman, the closest it's ever been. These two teammates fighting really, really hard. Coming into turn 2, this is going to be the last opportunity for Casper. He's a bit too far back.
Yeah, too far back, but there's still half a lap to go.
Yeah, obviously, with that DRS, it's going to be the best opportunity for that overtake. But as you said, there's still half the lap to go. Coming through turn 4, Casper going much, much wider there.
And into turn 1 will be the place where it could have been overtaking for Casper Meach, but no, it won't be, because there is only the final stretch to go. 3 tenths separate both the Alfa Romeos. I wonder what will happen in the final couple corners. We've seen Ten's teammates get together before. If you think back to 2016, Barcelona, we saw both the Mercedes colliding in the title championship battle. However, today, it is going to be Max Chapman rounding turn 13. He's going to go into turn 14. He is going to be in front of Max Chapman. Max Chapman is going to be in front of Casper Meach and into the lead. And finally, for the final time, we say that Max Chapman is in front of Casper Meach today.
Yeah, that was good stuff from Max. Some incredible pace there from him in the last few laps to get that position made on his teammate. But Joel obviously into P4 with Dylan Hartley with that penalty bound into P5. What a shame there for Dylan. But a good race from Joel. Obviously, no positions gained, no positions lost with him starting P4. But good stuff.
Robbie Welsh also managing to pick up a 5-second, managing to pick up a place because of Andre's 5-second time penalty. In the rear, Jay Robinson has actually been retired. I'm not too sure what's gone in there. He's come into the pits and retired the car there for them. Both the Mercedes boys, P11 and P12. I think that in P11, Mitchell may be my driver of the day for today.
Yeah, it looks like Jay's actually lost it coming through turn 5 on the final lap. That's going to be really... That's a real shame for him. Obviously, he was only in P16, but, you know, taking that checkered flag's really important. Andre Abreu in P7 getting a 5-second penalty, not losing out from that, I don't think, no.
Yeah, and all the way down in the rear was the Haas of Salomon. We saw him losing out. However, remember, your driver of the day can be voted today by whoever you want! DOTD.
Hello.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we talked to a couple of these people on the team radio you heard earlier. They double stacked the Haas boys. We have in the garage today, in the box today with us, we have the Haas driver of Matthew Widdowson and the engineer of Tom. And boys, how did your strategy fail you in the end? Because unfortunately, we heard you double stacked on the radio, but P15, is it where you want it to be?
Well, it was really unlucky for us. We benefited from the VSC towards the beginning of the race with Matt. His tyres were falling off a little bit quicker than we were expecting, but unfortunately, we were in the negative delta as we exited the pit lane just as the VSC ended. Matt had to do a drive through the next lap. The double stack under the safety car was very, very lucky for us. Basically undid all the damage from the rest of the race, and we I can't remember where quite we came up, but it was into a fantastic position. But then we just had some bad luck, an incident down into turn 3 that just cost us another stop, and that was it basically.
Is there anything you
Yeah.
would have done differently looking in hindsight?
Well, I feel very guilty for not reminding Matt about the Delta, but it's done now, so we just look forward, not back.
Well, you've got 2 weeks to prepare for Spa. Spa, one of the most difficult tracks on the calendar, obviously one of the most long and enduring tracks on the calendar. So, how do you wish to prepare for that, Matt?
Well, first of all, I'm probably going to practice a lot more because after that performance at Hungary, from not practicing very much, it's evident that I need to. But Spa is quite a strong track for me, so I'm looking forward to it.
How do you feel about Netflix being in the paddock? Could they somehow mess up your race, as they have with others?
I hope there isn't a bad omen surrounding them in this world as there is in the real world. But yeah, I don't think we'll probably be messed up by Netflix as long as they don't intervene with any of the pit strategies.
Well, that'll be interesting to see what goes on. Sam, have you got anything to add?
Well, just sort of a reflective question. Obviously, halfway through the season, you came in a bit late, Matt, but do you think you've learned anything? Do you think you can improve anything coming into the second half of the season?
To be honest, I think I've learned more on racecraft and strategy and how powerful the undercut can be sometimes at some circuits. And with racecraft, I've definitely learned how to give drivers more space because in single player, I just barged everyone off the track, but I've got a little bit better at that now.
Well,
Great.
it's great to see the cooperation going between the teams, and obviously the conditions are difficult out on the track, and it helps to have a team that supports you, just like Tom supports Matt, and also supports Salaman. So it's nice to see a little bit of teamwork happening in the paddock for once.
Couldn't do it myself, so he's a crazy driver, Matt is. It's easy to say that it's easy, but it's not.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
And ladies and gentlemen, we may have a small stream coming up on Thursday, so keep your eyes out. But for tonight, that's it from me, Sam.
Yeah, that's it. Also, a good race full of good racing and yeah, good strategies as well. We'll have to see what Spa brings us in a few weeks' time.
See you later, guys.